Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. It's been a little while since I've done this, and being that friends of mine aren't live streaming today, the king of live streams, it's I guess it's his day off. He stresses himself. Yeah, that's the way to put it. He stresses himself too much. Yeah, I said I'd be coming back a lot more with a lot more content and what have you, but snow's been off and on here in Cleveland. So I'm kind of working, but I'm not working. Um, and then with the troubles I've got, I mean, some of you guys know you can go back and check other videos. I'm not going to bring it up here, but um, yeah, I'm a little flaky. It's the nicest way to put it. Hey, Ray, what's going on, buddy? Uh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, my friend. Um, Train of thought. Where was I? Oh, one of the things I'd like to do is um, highlight channels as I come on with different topics and what have you this new year. Happy New Year, everybody! Forgot about that. Um, One of the channels I want to feature this time around is Oz Art. Um, he's my web designer. He's also quite a bit more. Go check out his website. After you watch this or what have you, and but he's also, how do I say it? His talents are vast, okay, and he has the ability to do all of our um, logos, web design, multitude of different things. But him and I have been talking about swag for the Green Wizard. Um, and we've got a couple of designs in mind, a couple of like logos for the back of your shirt, but what would you want on the front? Type of, let's leave that to you guys because he's so diverse in what he's able to do. The logo for the back would be like the Green Wizard, with a circle around it. And we've got a really interesting design for the actual logo of the Green Wizard. Um, and on the bottom of it, like say you were wearing a hoodie or something, on the bottom of that it says "Just Ask" or something along those lines. Like, are you organic? Whatever, whatever. We're still kind of tossing ideas around for that one. And some of your input would be welcome. I included his email address. So if you want to get Green Wizard swag, whether it be a coaster, a bumper sticker, t-shirt, uh, knee pad, even for your garden and garden work, uh, any number of you name it. Um, but the thinking is the idea is that a t-shirt or a hoodie or something along those lines that says you're a Green Wizard member, you've read the book, you understand Green Wizard stuff, um, and if you want to know more about something, then just ask. So if you're out wearing this, somebody may walk up to you and say, "What's this Green Wizard thing about? What's this? What's this all about?" And you can kind of have that open door and start talking about the book. That way, you're not cold calling, which everybody absolutely hates. Hey, Mr. Carlisle, how you been, my friend? Happy New Year's to you, buddy. Um, it's just we're banging ideas around. And yeah, I'm in trouble. And yeah, selling swag would be a potential helper in that aspect. Um, Again, I don't want to go into it here. But Him and I had been talking about some sort of something swag wise that fits Green Wizard, and we're at a loss. Honestly, we're at a loss. We have a logo idea. We've talked about doing banners for my truck during work hours, so that people can get into the organic and have me actually do their full organic yard care, garden, what have you, versus using chemicals, versus using the NPK process. I don't want to mislabel this. So that's what I wanted to come on and talk about today. Hey, Felicity, been a while. Hope you're well. Haven't heard from you at all. We need to run into each other and catch up sometime. That's a friend of mine from local. Not to throw you guys off. Yeah, it's quite different. I want to breach the subject and not violate any terms. We see what's going on in Germany with the nitrogen. We see what's going on in other countries, and they want to blame our global crisis. I'm trying not to breach this, okay? Being really careful about how I'm wording this, and it sucks. But it is what it is, right? There are natural alternatives to nitrogen. And we're going to see a whole lot of push here in the United States, probably in England, probably in Australia. This is becoming a global thing that they created. Okay, I'm trying. When I say they created it, you have to look at the NPK process and when they actually started to design this in the 50s, and what was going on at that time, and why the need to dump these chemicals and then turn it into an industry from what it was. Okay, I'm trying to hint here without going too far and go off the deep end. But that's where NPK really started. To talk about alternatives kind of crosses this line, because there's a whole industry out there that's making money on nitrogen and its subsidiaries and its far-reaching I'm lost here for wording, because I don't want to be in trouble. There's a multitude of unknowns involved in the NPK process when it comes to your yard, your food, your pets, your kids. There's all sorts of warnings that come up. There's all sorts of what have yous. With the Green Wizard's Guide, I hint at, and if you read kind of between the lines as you piece it all together as to where I'm going, I discuss a lot of these potential replacements for your yard. Now, I know it's wintertime, but you can amp your yard up even now. If you see clover, for example, take discarded coffee grounds into that area, even though there's snow, okay, and lay out a thin layer of coffee grounds in that same general area. Now, during my day job in the summer, because I plow snow in the winter when there's snow, but during my day job, I'm a fertilizer technician for a really big landscaping company. And this great lady that I dealt with this past year um, wants more green, wants more nitrogen. Got a beautiful yard, beautifully landscaped. She really well maintains it. Incredible place. I love going there. But she's got clover. Clover to the eye is disturbing in a perfect lawn. It's really odd to some people. They look at this and they go, "Oh my God, that's a weed." Clover germinates in a nitrogen poor soil, and it's a natural way of building nitrogen back in the soil. When there's excessive amounts, see here we run into this problem. When there's excessive amounts of chemically derived nitrogens, there's a balancing point. If you get it too much or you go too hot, just like with manures, if you go too hot, you burn the soil. Well, with chemically derived nitrogens, you do the same thing. If you get it too hot, if you get too much. So when you try to force a plant like clover out of your yard because to the eye it doesn't look right, I don't get it. You have that tipping point, that balancing point. You could go too far and burn the soil or make it unsusceptible to grass growing for a few months. It always recovers, but you can yellow the grass. You can burn the grass. Hey Gemma, how you been, sweetie? Happy New Year's to you. Merry Christmas. But there's alternatives. Okay, and that's kind of, how do we reach out to these countries and say, look, I understand. There are so many natural. Alfalfa is one of the huge ones, especially giant farms. You grow alfalfa in your soil, you cut it down in the spring because alfalfa grows all winter. It's a winter crop. It can grow in the summer like a huge grass, and a lot of farmers do because they feed their animals alfalfa. Well, it's nature's steroid. It's also a nitrogen builder. It has many, many benefits, both to the human body and to every other animal on the planet, basically. But what it does in the soil is phenomenal, especially when it comes to the other plants. So when you start, and I'll get right to you, Gemma. When you start looking at alternatives, see, this is where we're going to run into some problems with some of these countries just flat out banning nitrogen usage. And they're broadleafing that. They're not specifying NPK process. It's like they understand that all of this was caused by, and where this all came from. It's like they're cutting off their nose to spite their face. It's really, really odd because they're not offering alternatives. And the alternatives are all out here. They really, really are. Bat guano, horse manure, cattle manure, rabbits, chickens. All of these are natural nitrogen builders. Now, again, we're talking about getting too hot. You don't want fresh chicken anywhere. Oh my God, really, really hot. Rabbits in concentrated forms, yes, it's too hot. Horses, but you can amplify and or rebuild natural and organic by utilizing these things. Now, the next book was discussing a lot of this. Um, as far as mob grazing, which is something you can look up on the internet, um, and how to wipe out a field, wipe out a pasture without wiping out a pasture. A friend of my channel is doing just that, and he has had leaps and bounds, no chemicals whatsoever being utilized, and his farm, which went from forestry to farmland, is just incredibly being impacted by mob grazing, and the idea of continual rotation of these animals. Um, But as far as sources that you can get your hands on, blood meal is one of the very small uh, ones you can get your hands on. I mean, obviously, depending on the size of your property, you could also go into full out composting. Now, understand, you can compost right there in your bin, right there for a very small garden, like in England. The properties in England, they're so packed in certain areas of England that just having a little spot of grass is considered exorbitant. To grow full scale gardens is over the top as far as they're concerned. Um, but as you start to look at what nature offers, if you keep your grass clippings, if you gather leaves, if you naturally compost in your soils. Now, I know when you're talking about grass in your yard, that's a little bit more complicated. It's still doable, but it's a continual mulching system where you're always having to mulch everything and continually put it back in place. So, Gemma, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I don't have enough work. There hasn't been enough snow here in Cleveland, Ohio, to keep me working every week. So I'm suffering in that aspect. And book sales have dropped to absolutely zero the last 2 months. Nothing's moving in that arena. And a lot of that is my not understanding how to advertise on social media. I don't get the platforms. I don't understand them. Um, Even like a Facebook ad, I read it and it's like reading Greek. I don't get it. But I'm doing good. I'm doing real well. We're supposed to have snow Friday, so I should be back to work again. Always subject to change. It's the weather. It is what it is. But yeah, if you're composting, you're naturally building nitrogen. Um, like in England, one of their biggest problems um, with their yards is how do you compost in this little 10 by 10 or 20 by 20, and that's all you've got? Well, it's compost teas. If you were to take a trash bin, put it in the shade, because you don't want it to get too hot, then it's something else, and that's a whole nother chapter in the new book about different ways of composting. But if you were to just take a trash bin, take leaves, newspapers, kitchen waste, grass clippings, and put all of that in that bin and punch a hole in it, I don't know, a foot up maybe, depending on how much clippings you had, to let that water drain. Now, that's a whole composting thing about compost bins if you want to look it all up. But if you just let that water run out into your small garden, or you gather that water and you put it on your plants, that's a compost tea. Basic, very basic form. I am not going into the very specifics. The whole point of coming on was to, say hi to everybody and get a chance to kind of talk through some things with you guys. There's alternatives. The Green Wizard's Guide covers so many of them. Um, it's buried throughout the book, just like the coffee ground trick. Um, Anything breaking down naturally and organically is going to release a form of nitrogen. How hot that nitrogen is depends on how active the microbial life is. The more active the microbial life in your soil, the greater the production of both your lawn and or your garden. By avoiding, again, this is where you kind of cross that line. By avoiding chemical assistance, let's call it that. By avoiding chemical assistance in your garden, in your yard, in your trees, and what have you, your production's healthier. You have no need for a pesticide to stop bugs because your plants, Mother Nature's way, your plants have a way of defending everything. But when you go the other direction, you shut that off. Certain minerals that are required in those plants to be bug defensive are missing. You're lacking some of that. That's the best way I can say it without crossing that line. Mother Nature has a way. And when every supplement is manifest in the soil, in organic, microbial rich soil, which everybody considers topsoil, when it's all there, the plants have the ability to defend themselves. I'm just trying to catch up with chat. Sorry, everybody. I'm trying to keep it going and catch up at the same time. I'll divert back to chat shortly just to catch up with everybody. So those of you that are in, there's only 3 left. Okay. There was 7 earlier. And it's good to see you, Gemma. I know I haven't been around because my day job and your schedule kind of conflict. So I don't see the announcements on my phone. And I'm working anyways. It'd be hard to stop and hang out with you and what have you. But I'm out there. I'm there. Yeah, and everybody's hassling me about the hair. It's not people at work. Others. They want to know when I'm giving my next contribution of hair to Cancer Society. It's coming. It's coming. I'm not quite at 13 inches yet, so they don't have anything to really work with. But it's coming. Anyhow, so we've covered most. I've talked about bone meal, fish fertilizer, seaweed and kelp. If you can get your hands on this stuff, wow, talk about nitrogen builder. And it has so many elements, and it has iodine in it. That's key for some other possibilities. We're dealing with a lot of this radiation from cell phones and Bluetooth and everything wireless you can think of. Iodine is one of those helpful things to keep in mind. It protects the thyroid. It does some other really incredible things health-wise. Some of that was going to go into the next book. This is not the channel for that. Talking about health issues and what have you. Didn't want to go into it, but if you're introducing these things in your garden, they're helping in a lot of other ways. So there's a bunch of other stuff going on there. Hey, Cliff, what's going on, my friend? So yeah. Let me see if there was any others that really came to mind. Composting is one of our best. One of our best. What people misunderstand in a lot of this. When I say, I'm going to shut that off. I don't even want that there anymore. Everybody wants to talk about the grow zones and where they are. And a lot of that has to do with the thaw freeze cycles. Okay. The biggest thing you need to know, and the biggest thing you need to worry about when it comes to your yard and your garden, is what is the active microbial life forms. Now, there are millions found in a teaspoon of good topsoil. That being said, every region throughout the world has different microbial life in it. Purchasing from big box stores any form of topsoils is counterintuitive to all of that, because you don't know where that was made and what life forms are in it and may or may not survive in your zone. So the best thing you can do for yourself, just like Dave Carlisle was just talking about, using pallets, stacking pallets and running compost, because you're going to be making forms of topsoil. The next book was going to explain a whole lot more of this and a whole lot more in depth. The best things you could do in and this is a hint, Dave, find areas in your yard that are too much clay. And yeah, I know I talk about Epsom salt being one of the cures for clay. But if you take clay and you break it up, let it dry out and break it up into its smallest possible forms and sprinkle that into your compost, you're putting a form of minerals into that compost that'll join with the compost. Take that same compost and put it back in that original hole where the clay came from, because you're going to be putting topsoil, mineral rich, from that exact spot in your grow zone right back in that area, and watch how the grass naturally expands into that. It's amazing. I'm still, when I watch some of the processes that we do as landscapers and some of the ways that we incorporate grasses into destroyed areas where we've come in and re-landscaped an entire area and have to get it to recover. We utilize some of these tricks, and it's amazing how fast the soils and the grasses expand and replace themselves and get into these areas when you're coming in with the correct materials. Like, we'll come in and remove a bunch of clay, go and start composting those, mixing them with alternative things, and by the time that the project is completed, a month and a half, we bring those soils back in, put them back in place to get everything back to a level, and the grasses just naturally move back in because we're not actually introducing anything new. We're utilizing everything from that same yard. Yeah, it takes a big operation to do all of this, but it's just one of those things. But yeah, when people are talking, and I'm not going to stay on much longer. There's not a whole lot of draw this early in the morning. But when people are talking about, oh my God, the system is changing. Oh my God, we're not going to be able to find these things for our gardens anymore. And what are we going to do about our yard and keeping it green? And huge farms are struggling. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? They're all are alternatives. They are available. They are out there. Green Wizard's Guide just glazes over the top of so much of this because we weren't writing an absolute gardener's handbook, farmer's manual with the first book. It's just an introduction. It's like it should be called, Yard Care 101 or something along those lines, but it goes into so much more. It does so much more. So I'm going to wrap up. I'm not going to hang too long. I do want to test that address, Cliff, so I'll stop in a minute. Just so I lock it in StreamYard. Again, swag. Get a hold of Ozart. Give him some suggestions. Email him. Go to his channel. Check him out. See what he does. Order some Green Wizard swag, whether it's t-shirts, sweatshirts, coffee mug coasters for your tables, or anything that will cause someone to ask you out of the blue, what's this Green Wizard thing about? And you can introduce them and have a conversation with them about the book on Amazon and hopefully help sales. Word of mouth is the best way to introduce anybody to anything. My outreach here on YouTube just isn't strong enough. I don't get shared enough. As much as, I want every one of my videos shared 1 million times, it's just not going to happen. I'm not entertaining enough or something, or I'm not as pretty as Gemma here and can just draw a crowd in to listen to a high-pitched voice with a I'll be nice and stop right there. Anyhow, it's interesting. It's interesting. There's so many things we can do. Ozart and I have been banging our heads together trying to figure this out for a couple of years. What kind of stuff people that have read the Green Wizard's Guide want for swag, or if you yourself are just interested in getting made to order swag of something you have or something you'd like to create, Ozart can take care of that. His link is below in the main topic. Well, see, Gemma, I've been watching so much of this, and you can all kind of understand that watch YouTube. Everybody's watching over everybody else's shoulder. Nobody's willing to help everybody anymore. It's all about me, and don't talk about this. I could get into an argument with anybody like, this is the color orange from a pumpkin. And do you know how many people would come in here and say, no, it's not. This is from something else, and this is from something else. Everybody's just... So I try not to be, because I'm just trying to sell a book. There's an idea here. There's a save the planet possibility here. And you go and you check out some of these other channels that are really hammering it home. And they're talking on mass scale gardening and mass scale farming and what have you. And they're ignoring all of you. The little guy, the backyard gardener, the balcony, or they're ignoring you guys. They're not giving you those kind of solutions. They're all in the Green Wizard's Guide. Mind you, they're shortcuts. They're fast tracking. Over time, you no longer have to use the fast track stuff. It does it naturally and organically. That's the key here. You know, when it says about saving money, I'm not kidding. You literally, once you put these things in place, once or twice in a year's time, you've got 2 or 3 years of, you don't have to do anything in your yard. You don't have to fertilize, you don't have to water, you don't have to, just maintain it. And the more you maintain it, the less weeds you have. It's the best way of putting that. Now, that's a whole different video. That's a whole different discussion. It could take hours to explain that. But, without, okay, since he's here and it's safe, Cliff, man's a night owl. You don't cut grass in the middle of the dark because you'll disturb your neighbors. So Cliff doesn't go out and cut until he absolutely has to. And then he's got, grass mixed with weeds. Weeds don't like to be cut a lot, is the best way of putting it. If you cut weeds a whole lot, they die off. They can't survive because they don't have the sunlight. You're cutting off every chance they have of getting the sunlight. Grass, on the other hand, every time you cut grass, it goes into overdrive and wants to grow more. That's kind of the key. As you keep it cut on top, the roots grow deeper without the help of the NPK process. The roots just naturally go deeper. So the more often you cut your grass, I'm sorry, Cliff, but the more often you cut your grass, the fewer you're going to see weeds. And that's just on a let's do it hardcore organic and let only Mother Nature put deposits in my yard and never have to look back and knock it all down and get back in the house before the sun gives me a suntan or something, because we don't like that to happen. Well, I was trying not to say it that way, Cliff. It is what it is. I was trying to be really, really nice here. Look, if you went outside with some beer and accidentally spilled it in the yard, you're going to put nitrogen down. Yeah, the alcohol content doesn't help, but that'll all, over time, that'll evaporate and you still leave products behind that will help the yard. So you can be as lazy as you want and spill as much beer as you want, and you're going to help your yard over time. Just saying. So, putting a couple of open beer cans, even stale, and leaving them on your fenders and the cup holders and hitting the bumps and doing what have you and spilling stuff all over your yard, it's good for your yard, believe it or not. I know it's a crime because it's a waste of good alcohol. I totally understand. I get it. Why would you do something along the I'm with you, brother. I understand. But when it comes to yard care and it comes to growing a good garden and having the best lawn out there, like I have a property that I take care of right next to a golf course. And this year they got hit with a disease. I saw it hit my property, my yard that I maintain. I took care of it ahead of them. And when the golf course browned out and the golf course got hammered with the disease, this yard, and which makes it worse, this yard right next to one of the tees, and I mean, literally, I walk out of this yard, I go 5 feet, and I am standing on the main tee for like the 6th hole or something. Every one of the people that go there to golf stand on that green and see this man's yard thriving while the entire lawn in front of them on this golf course has browned out and is full of disease. I'm kind of proud of that. I've got this guy's yard thriving right next to the tee, and all of the rest of the yards, including his 2 neighbors on either side, they're all browning out. They're all disease ridden. They're all sick, and his yard's thriving because I was on top of it paying attention. And that's only once a month. Imagine what it could be like for you yourself doing your own yard every weekend, even for 10 minutes. It's shocking. It's shocking. But when you understand the principles behind the Green Wizard's Guide and using Mother Nature at and her shortcuts, you've got the best yard in town. Your neighbors all look at your yard and go, oh my God. And you don't do anything. So you're being lazy and your neighbors are all envying your yard. To me, that's awesome. I love that. I've got the I've got the ultimate rose house. I've got a little rose bush in my front yard that everybody just envies the life out of. And it's just a little thing. It's getting where I want it to be one day, but it's just a little thing right now. And I know some of you are laughing because you've seen pictures, and you know I'm being very humble about a little rose bush. But yeah, I'm not going to drone anybody's ear off. 40 minutes. I didn't intend to go this long, but I wanted to come in, say hi to everybody, and breach this topic on nitrogen. Wanted to get the word out and also state, look, hey, if you guys want to be a featured channel, the next time I come on, please drop me a message in comments below, and let's talk. Let's see if I can't help drive some traffic your way with what views I do get. And please share this out. People need to know that, even though there's these issues with nitrogen, there's alternatives. There really, really are. And I don't care whether you're growing in your house and just a couple of minor plants, and all of a sudden you're seeing these issues, and you want to stay on the green side of things, and erase carbon footprints and what have you. The answers are here. Mother Nature has provided them. But I'm going to get out of here. My coffee's almost empty and probably cold. I'm going to get out of here, and yeah, I'll be back. I have plenty more to talk about. And if we're not going to be publishing the next book, simply because the first book was not very well received, I'll just move on and do my other thing. Yes, it is. Dave, there's a bunch of things you can do to speed up that process. One of them is add sugars. Sugar feeds the mycology, the microbial life in the compost. What you're doing when you take in a manure, I'll just blanket that, any manure, is you're introducing a certain type of mycology that is coming from that particular animal's droppings. See, I do that without crossing any lines and saying anything wrong. If you add a little bit of sugar, you speed that process up. The only thing I'm going to tell you here is, just like with rabbits, just like with chickens, just watch your temperatures. Watch your moisture content and watch your temperatures. You want to be in the 160 to 168 field at the peak of the heat that compost bin puts out. You start going over that, you're going to start going anaerobic, and it's going to become a little toxic, and it's going to be compost you can't use, because it brings in a whole different type of microbial life at those temperatures that will actually hurt plants. Totally different thing. So you got to be careful in that aspect. But yeah, watch your moisture content, add your sugars, and throw those other fillers in. Let's call it that. Throw those other fillers in, and try that clay thing. You might be surprised, my friend. You might be surprised. So I'm going to get out of here. Look for me again. Spread the word. I'm still here. I'm just a little distracted by some other things. Check that other video where I talked about being in trouble. Maybe you can help, and it'll help you understand what's going on. But hey, God bless every one of you. I appreciate all 5 of you, 7 of you, whatever it was that showed up this morning to be in the side chat. I'll catch you later. I appreciate you all stopping in. We'll see everybody.